everybody. Welcome to MoAD from Home and our Community Resilience Program series. While we endure this global pandemic, MoAD will highlight the work being done to keep our community resilient in the face of COVID-19. I hope everyone who's joining us today is safe and healthy. My name is Elizabeth Gessel, and I'm the Director of Public Programs at MoAD, and I'm excited to bring you this conversation with Candice Elder, founder and CEO, Executive Director of the East Oakland Collective. East Oakland Collective is a member-based community organizing group invested in serving the communities of Deep East Oakland by working towards racial and economic equity. With programming in civic engagement and leadership, economic empowerment, and homeless services and solutions, EOC helps amplify underserved communities from the ground up. EOC is committed to driving impact in the landscape, politics, and economic climate of Deep East Oakland. And now I'm going to introduce to you our guest, Candice Elder, who I have had the pleasure of working with at MoAD before. She is an East Oakland native who currently resides in City of Oakland, District 7. She is the founder and executive director of the East Oakland Collective. Candice went to Oakland Public Schools and for high school attended the Head Royce School. Candice has a background in law, philanthropy, and nonprofit management. Candice was a legal professional for 10 years and has worked in plaintiff class action law firms in employment and antitrust law fields. Candice previously worked as the executive coordinator and membership manager for the Women's Funding Network, the largest philanthropy network of women's funds and foundations in the country. It is Candice's passion for Black arts and culture that led her to serve as the president of the Museum of the African Diaspora Vanguard from 2014 to 2016, where she increased membership, visibility, and funding. MoAD Vanguard was the young professional and membership group committed to supporting the museum through distinctive art, social, education, and philanthropic initiatives. In 2019, for her work with the East Oakland Collective, she was selected as one of the Root's top 100 most influential African Americans. Welcome, Candice.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
It's nice to have you here to be in conversation with you. How are you doing?
I am hanging in there, but I am doing well.
So. Okay. So just to let you guys know, the way this is going to work is Candice and I will be in conversation, and we will open it up at the end for questions. So if you want to send a question ahead, you can go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'll be responding to questions towards the end. So let's start with Candice. Why don't you tell us about the East Oakland Collective and the work that you're doing?
So East Oakland Collective is a grassroots nonprofit organization. We've been in existence for 4.5 years. We do racial and economic equity work, and for us that means neighborhood and transportation planning, building civic engagement, community engagement within our communities, as well as economic empowerment. And we actually did not start off having homelessness and solutions as a focus area. That came about because of the homelessness crisis in Oakland, and we were actually called by the community to do the work. And we focus primarily on Deep East Oakland. That's from High Street to the San Leandro border. And for us, it's the last frontier. Is where you will still find the largest number of African Americans who have not been displaced or gentrified out of their communities left. So we want to get ahead of the curve and make sure that our Black residents are still here and have the resources to stay here.
That's cool that the work that you're doing is responsive to the need that you see.
Very much so. We started off actually just feeding our Unhoused brothers and sisters as a community service project for our members, and then it propelled us into advocacy, organizing, and policy work with, and it's important always to say with, our Unhoused brothers and sisters and on behalf.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about your life path. How did where you have been in the past, both in your life and your work that you did previously, how did this lead you to found the East Oakland Collective?
So I'm one of those career changes. I had so many career changes, it's ridiculous. But I'm an example of, you follow your passion, you follow your heart, you follow what you are compelled to do, even if it means changing courses. So I went to UC Berkeley for undergrad, and I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, so I actually did 1 year in law school, decided it was not for me. And then I worked in the law field, always on the plaintiff side, which I would say the people side, for 10 years, helping to fight for employment rights, employee rights, discrimination cases, large class actions. And then during that time, I joined MoAD as a member, and then as well as I joined MoAD Vanguard. And I was on the MoAD Vanguard Council for at least a few years. And the opportunity came up where the president position was open. So one of my great mentors, she's always said, sometimes you have to do things afraid. And if you're not afraid, that means you're not pushing yourself. So I was afraid. I was like, okay, I've never been in a position, this high before. And, we're such a esteemed, institution, but I'm going to do it afraid. And that's what I did. And it actually was one of the most pivotal moments, of my life so far, because it really awoke all these leadership skills. I got to see an inside look on fundraising and kind of like nonprofit and museum world. And it was after actually I ended my 2 years on the MoAD Vanguard Council that I started the East Oakland Collective.
Wow, I'm so glad that MoAD could have had such an important role in leading you to this incredible work that you're doing.
Yes. And then working for a Women's Funding Network, for 2 years, I was able to get an inside glimpse into, nonprofit management, by Women's Funding Network actually being the largest women's philanthropy organization, membership organization actually in the world. I was able to get a glimpse into admin operations, membership, management, and stuff like that. So it definitely was a great, organization to work for. And I built the East Oakland Collective while working for Women's Funding Network. And I left Women's Funding Network when EOC could stand on its own.
That's great. What about going back a little further, like actually to your childhood? What about growing up in Oakland do you think led you to where you are right now?
Growing up in Oakland has definitely shaped who I am, and it has shaped where I'm at today. Because I remember Oakland growing up, particularly East Oakland. So I've lived all over East Oakland most of my life, outside of besides my college years. But remembering East Oakland when it was thriving, even though it was on the decline, in the 80s and the early 90s, due to, drugs and due to kind of the disenfranchisement, and lack of resources that was starting to happen. But still, it was a whole different world back then. I remember Eastmont Mall was actually an open mall, and I would go there, the food court with my family. My parents had a bakery on 73rd and MacArthur. And we used to live around the corner. So just remembering my childhood and going to Oakland Public Schools and seeing the difference now. And by living in East Oakland and driving to the BART station every day and seeing the high rate of homelessness, seeing closed down businesses, seeing vacant storefronts, seeing people on the street, and seeing that the conditions are really not getting any better. We're lacking sometimes good political representation and advocacy, in East Oakland. So really wanting to make a change. And then I started to get into politics more to make that change. And then, I'm looking around the room when I'm going to these political meetings, and there's not anyone there, or there's barely anyone there. So really saying, if I feel this way, I wonder how many people, even in my age group, you know, because EOC, we are millennial based, but how many people in my age group, how can we help and get people more involved and being the voice for their neighborhoods, as well as the city not being able to make decisions on our behalf, but the residents actually being able to make a decision from the onset of a planning process, you know, and showing up at City Hall and bring City Hall to us. Because EOC, we really believe and operate that, you know, we need to be met where we are, and then actually the city, the government, they need to come and do their due diligence in our neighborhoods. So they need to come to us. So we actually were, EOC is one of the first community-based organizations in Oakland to work with the city on the onset of a planning process. You know, in our early stages, we got the mayor, Mayor Libby Schaaf, to actually come to the hood, you know, and do a budget workshop. And so we were part of some of the first, you know, because like at that time we rarely saw her, you know, off 98th and below San Leandro Boulevard. So, you know, so we rarely saw her in some of these spaces. So really kind of like working on this trajectory to hold our politicians accountable, and then give more voice, you know, to the residents, you know.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you got a mayor of Oakland to come into East Oakland for a budget planning session for the very first time.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, I want to shift to the work that you're doing right now with the Unhoused community, which you said, you know, really became your focus based on the need that you saw. I'm wondering how COVID-19 and this pandemic that we're in, how is that impacting your work with the Unhoused?
So EOC has always been part of any rapid response efforts. When there were the wildfires and, you know, all the smoke was coming down from Napa and Sonoma County, we passed out masks, you know, because if you are outside, you are even more impacted, you know, from some of the, just on a normal basis, the environmental elements, but then having increased impact, you know, also really affects folks. And we really, we look up to our ancestors and those who have paved the way before us. And, you know, we're in Oakland, so home of the Black Panthers, and they fed people before the government did. They fed people, and because they fed people and because they were successful in doing so, you know, they got the government to actually, on the federal level, implement, you know, free food programs for schools and children and families. So that's in our bones and in our blood from even being born and raised in Oakland and going generations back. So we were just meeting a simple need to do food even before COVID-19. And we have the very, very popular Feed the Hood program, because food at the end of the day is a very basic need that all of us can contribute to. So that's why our Feed the Hood program is so popular, because there's a lot of people who don't know what to do, how to address the homelessness issue. You know, we see that it's exploding in a lot of the urban Bay Area cities, and it's exploding across, you know, urban cities across the nation. So, and people were so grateful for food. After COVID-19, we had to suspend our normal programs because of social distancing and sheltering in place, because the Feed the Hood program attracts upwards of 300 to, and some of our large ones have attracted 500 people at one time. So of course, obviously, because of what's going on right now, we can't have that many people congregating together. And then where we were sourcing food from, they closed down temporarily, so we lost our access to food, but we have been resilient, and instead we've been resourcing food from restaurants, caterers, chefs who might be out of work right now. And if we're able to, provide them with the food to cook, they will do that. So it's not only helping to address food insecurity, the deep food insecurity that our unhoused brothers and sisters are facing, but we have also in impacting, trying to drive more dollars into like the food industry economy. And we have actually expanded our services. We now do food deliveries of fresh meals, non-perishable produce bags, snack bags, and sanitation kits to not only on the unhoused and encampments, but also to our seniors, those who are disabled, and those who are immunocompromised or have, pre-existing health conditions that, if they were to contract, COVID-19, it would be, costly to their lives. So we've seen an expansion of services because there's an expansion in need. So we are grateful to be able to, we're working hard and we're working every day. And there's people right behind me and my volunteers and my colleagues who are packing meals and produce bags right now, and they're going to go out and distribute them. But we're grateful for the outpouring of support, and we're grateful to be able to meet the increased need for food and essential supplies.
Wow. So if there were people who could use your services, like people who are immunocompromised, how would they know to get in touch with you, or how are you connecting with people?
So we are on many mutual aid lists. If you call 211, which is kind of like the Bay Area wide hotline for housing and resource management, we get referrals from there. We are even getting referrals from hospitals and doctors and RNs, and we're getting referrals from clinics. We're getting referrals from counselors and social workers. We are getting referrals from everywhere. We also have been advertising online. And then of course, we know where people are, particularly if they're unhoused. So we go directly to the curbside communities. They don't have to call us at all. Yeah. But we definitely do take anyone who's in need of food, we give,
That's so great. If there are people out there who want to get involved and want to help support the East Oakland Collective and the unhoused community or the other work that you do, how would someone go about doing that? How do people get involved?
You can go to EOC's website, www.eastoaklandcollective.com, and right there on the top of the main page is a description of our COVID-19 rapid response efforts, as well as our distribution days for those who are in need, or people can refer someone in need. All our days are listed where you can pick up or pick up on somebody's behalf, or we can schedule a drop off, as well as there's news articles. We've been in the news quite a bit for our efforts to not only address food insecurity, but also essential supplies. We also have masks and gloves and hand sanitizer, and we're thankful for everyone who has been donating. So also there's on the main page how you can donate. We have an Amazon wish list, as well as we are partnering with Town Kitchen, where you can donate these amazing meal and supply kits, total tissue, gloves, everything. And then those go out to our families, and it could feed a family of 4 or more, for a day or 2.
That's amazing. Is there like any particular need that you have right now that you're like, oh, we really need this and I want to get the word out?
We always need masks, whether they're fabric, whether they're homemade, whether they're purchased, whether they're N95, KN95. I mean, we'll take it at this point because our unhoused brothers and sisters are in dire need of, some of the protective gear. particularly masks, and particularly now, I know Oakland, I'm not sure about San Francisco County, but Alameda County, put in an order just the other day where everyone is required to have masks if they are outside, so while you're doing your essential trips, you have to have a mask on. So the community definitely needs more masks. And we are also part of No Vacancy California, where we're demanding that across the state that vacant hotel rooms be opened up to use as emergency shelter. So we have a GoFundMe right now, which is not on the website, but I will put it on the website as soon as we get off, where we have just been paying for, we're in our second week of paying for 2 seniors who live next to the hotel to have a room. And it's been very impactful for them to be in our room, to have access to a restroom, toilet, sinks, a mini fridge. So now they can actually store, some food. It's been amazing. They have a bed to rest, and stretch their limbs, because these 2 seniors have been living in their car since 2014, and so, yeah, we have maybe 1 more week left of funding through the GoFundMe to keep them temporarily housed. So we want to expand that for like another 30 or more days and keep them there until June 4th.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible work. Thank you so much. I want to open it up now to questions. So if anybody who is with us wants to type a question into the chat, I think we're also a small group, so we could just unmute people and see if people want to just join in the conversation. Okay, it looks like everybody's unmuted. Well, maybe not.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in because I'm an East Oakland native. My name is Jamie Fontaines, and my address was 8403 Peace Street. So I grew up at East Oakland at 84th and East 14th. I thank you for the work that you do. I thank you for still staying in the community. I still have family that lives on the corner on 86th. I appreciate it because I know what you're talking about. I am 41 years old, and a lot of my family members are not alive today because of the pandemic that was there first. So I appreciate the work that you do, and I appreciate that I have the opportunity to participate and donate my time and resources. And I'm glad to see that a younger generation is still there surviving, and not just surviving, but thriving. Mm-hmm. It's pretty amazing to see that the work that you guys are doing. I became a social worker because of growing up there, and I'm giving back now. So I'm almost in tears to see that I'm old enough to see another generation of East Oakland people coming up and coming through and making change too. I appreciate you guys, and thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. We are all we got, so we definitely have to take care of each other. And I would love to, connect with you offline about how to become involved in EOC, because we have over 100 members, and there's some of them, been displaced from East Oakland or no longer live in East Oakland, but their heart is in East Oakland. Their family might still be in East Oakland. Their grandmother's house, might still be in East Oakland. So we are, no matter where we go, we're always connected to our roots.
Yes.
So we definitely would like to connect with you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I look forward to connecting with you, and I'll make sure you get my email or whatever. But thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for making these community changes, because I'm still connected, and I'm 40, and I've been there my whole life, and I've seen how it's changed and how it's evolved and the things that still need to be done and the stories that we're still telling. But I appreciate the story that you speak is of faith and healing, because that's the story I tell of my city as well. We are not a dying city. We are a city that is in the middle of rebirth, and it may take a little while, but that's okay. Some of us still believe in what it does. So thank you.
You're welcome. No matter what, I love East Oakland. It's still vibrant.
Me too.
It's 5 to 10 degrees hotter.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I'm sweating right now in my office on Sunday. you know, and it was like, I was working in San Francisco for, you know, good 5-7 years. And I always would just sit at the window, be like, I'd rather be, even though I was coming home to Oakland, because I live in the Deep East and in District 7, but still like, I want to be in East Oakland full time. And then here I am.
I understand. Believe me, I understand. So here's the funniest part. My other family is from Sobrani Park. I can't love Oakland anymore, right? There is nothing more that's more Oakland than I could be. My families were founding members. My great-grandmother used to say she was a pillar of the community. So I'm so proud, right? I left and came back and left and came back. So it's really nice to have the opportunity. Work took me away. But I was so happy, not that the pandemic came, but to see that we could be having these talks and conversations and that I can attend them with ease. So, right, for some of us, this is a hardship, but for me, I am turning it around because I am able to connect in ways that I wasn't before. So while for some of us, this is a hardship, I want us to focus on the fact that we are reconnecting and connecting and making new bridges because we have opportunity. So that was my point. Thank you, the community, for making it possible. And that's, again, about East Oakland. We'll make it happen. It's like, what you got? We got it. We got it. So I was so happy to see you.
And you bring up a good point. It is about perspective. You know, there is a lot of tragedy right now, but we do have to think of what's on the other end of this, you know, what is like at the tunnel, and hopefully it's more unity, it's more collaboration, it's more partnership, it's more coming together and to meet the need. We don't know what this is going to look like on the other end. So there's still, needs are still going to be there, and particularly with our unhoused community, you know, a lot of the issues that they're experiencing now were these are the same old issues that they were experiencing before, but now at such a heightened level, there's more attention and more people to help address the problem.
And that's a great thing. And that's what I'm so glad to see, that we are not taking this as critical mass, but instead using it as an opportunity to pivot, to connect, create solution-based plans and outcomes. And so what if we fall short? At least we have a plan and somewhere we're reaching for. So I was really excited to see you guys coming on. And because I was last minute, I was like, oh, that's an hour. Okay. Let me cancel my other stuff and get on here. Right. So the information that you're giving, the links that you're sharing, thank you, because then I can give them to my community. Because what I am reminding my clients and community is that we stop panicking, right? We have become global. Where one door has shut, a whole damn window has opened. Breathe in, it's okay, right? These things are available to you. So shift your perspective. Maybe you can't walk out and get them, but it's very refreshing to hear that community outreach is still going on and there's just a shift. And for me, as a social worker, I know it's just about connecting and knowledge. So I will be sure to pass on your information and let my family resources know that you are still available, open, and working diligently to serve them. Because a lot of people are stuck in fear. They think everything is closed, so they're not even moving to see because they're afraid of the outcome. So a lot of this for me, for my community, has been just, hey, this is just some information when you get a chance. They're open. You know, they're still there. You don't have to panic, because I know for some, they can't handle one more disappointment.
Right.
So I'm happy to be a bearer of good news. I can't wait to share your stuff.
We are open. We got so much food and so many supplies. You know?
Okay. That's good to know.
Like we are good. As much as we distribute, we get back in and distribute.
Okay.
And so.
Because that's my concerns that I'm getting mostly, is the food concerns, the travel concerns. They can't get there. They don't have bus, blah, blah, blah. So I was really perked up when I heard you say that you're doing deliveries and or drop-offs. I will definitely put that out to my community so that they can reach out and use your services. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I do want to make sure, do any of our other participants have questions that they want to get in before we wrap up?
Hi, Candice. My name is Michelle. I had a question about how you think people who don't live, I live in Long Beach, and I was just really interested to join today because I was reading about what you do, and I know there are probably people that are doing work similar to the East Oakland Collective here, but sometimes it gets really hard to know how to help and how to, use what resources I have to help other people. Or other organizations, I should say. And so what would you recommend for people that are in a privileged position or are in a position to be able to help, to know and maybe don't have prior experience volunteering or donating to organizations like yours, how do you encourage kind of first-time either volunteers or first-time donors to kind of get involved with an organization?
Prior to COVID-19, I would say, volunteer, and even considering, lightly going out yourself. But I'm actually, since the onset of COVID-19 and find like the need for social distancing, that's very important. I don't encourage folks to actually start going out on their own. Now is not the time, because not only you might be putting yourself at risk, but you might be putting the people who you're trying to serve at risk too. So I actually encourage people to actually tap in with organizations who are trained and already doing the work. So that looks like food recovery groups, which I know have been popular over the last few years or so. Just maybe Google some large and grassroots homelessness efforts. Check out LACAN. Tap in with them and see if they have a network in Long Beach to connect you to. So I work with LACAN on the No Vacancy California. So they are a good reputable group. And also, if you go to novacancyca.org, and if you go to the list of organizations, a lot of them are LA County based. So those groups I could definitely vouch for. Tap in with them and see if they either have select or modified volunteer opportunities. They also might have donation opportunities. If it wasn't for people donating to restaurants who are then in turn donating food, then we wouldn't have the amount of food that we do. So maybe do some Google searches, do some research on if there are any community kitchen type initiatives in your area. And that's an excellent way to donate right now, because those type of programs are not only allowing small restaurants and to reemploy some of their staff that they had to lay off, are not working right now, but it also, in turn, it drives hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of food back into the community. What some of my donors have been doing is also hiring chefs and caterers themselves, and then having the food delivered to my office, and then we pack up and then we distribute out to the community. So that's one effort. If you have the time and the capacity to coordinate that, that's one thing to do. But I would encourage, instead of reinventing the wheel, find a program that's already doing that. Maybe contact also your local soup kitchens, shelters, see if they need any donations. I know a lot of donations are going to the food banks. That's the option there, but they are getting tons of money. The food banks are getting tons of money right now. So I always encourage people to maybe find the smaller program, maybe even find the church who's still out there, cooking meals and could use some funding to keep their meals going. So that's what I suggest right now.
Thank you so much. That's so helpful. I wrote all of it down. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to wrap up now. Half an hour goes quickly, but thank you so much, Candice. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for the guests for joining us. And I also want to just give special thanks to Nia McAllister, who is my colleague and has been helping me run this program. So thank you, Nia, for helping. I'm going to put one more slide up on the screen before we hear. Nope, it's not letting me.
Oh,
hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. Well, I'm just going to, instead of doing the slide, I'm just going to read that I want people to please consider donating to MoAD, either on the website moadsf.org, or you can give by cell by texting 56512 and type MoAD SF and follow the link to donate. All the donations will go to support free public programming during the museum closure. And MoAD at Home will be back here next week, Tuesday, April 28th, with a conversation between author Sarah Ladipo-Manika and Ghanaian artist Ibrahim Mahama. So please join us next week at noon. We also have lots of free programming that's happening online through the museum. So check out our website and join us for more programming. And thank you again, Candice, for the amazing work that you're doing. I've just been following you. I'm so impressed, and I'm really happy that I got to have this conversation with you today.
It's always great to be in conversation with MoAD family. So,
all right, take care.
take care.
Thank you.